In this video, we'll be looking at our first lesson in Chapter 3/Chapter 4. Kind of combine multiple lessons from these two chapters to, because they went well together. So the first thing I want to do is put my name. You put your name, I'm putting my name, and we are in 6th period. Our essential question today will be, how do I graph using intercepts? How do I graph using intercepts? So first, what we'll want to talk about is what a linear equation is. And the linear equation is an equation whose graph is a line. Linear equation is an equation whose graph is a line. There's the standard form of a linear equation, and that will look like this: ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are constants, and we'll have the letters x and y still as the variables. So something like 3x plus 2y equals 5. Then we'd have our slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. We'll be using this one a lot, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. Don't worry about that right now. We'll dive deeper into it into the future. The equation could look something like y equals 3 halves x minus 4. So we have our standard form. We have ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are constants and x and y are variables. Then we have our slope-intercept form, where y equals mx plus b, where m and b are our numbers and y and x stay as the letters, as the variables. So to graph intercepts, we need to know what an intercept is. And a y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. And to find a y-intercept, plug x equals 0 in and solve for y. This is the big piece right here. This might be something worth highlighting. So to find a y-intercept, we plug x equals 0 into our equation, and then we solve for y. And the same idea, but kind of flipped, is going to be for the x-intercept. The x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. And it's the same kind of idea to find the x-intercept. Instead, we're switching the x and y. So to find, plug y equals 0 in and solve for x. Okay. So first, let's see if we can identify some x and y intercepts. So if I'm intercepting, or if I'm crossing the y-axis, right there, is that an x or y intercept? Well, it's a y-intercept, so we can say our y-intercept is 3, the y value where it crosses the y-axis, or the point 0, 3, where x is 0, no left or right movement, and then we went up 3. And then the x-intercept would be I could go left 2, 1, 2, and that's negative 2, or the point negative 2, 0. Like that. So if you would, go ahead and pause right here and try number 2. Okay, so hopefully you took the chance to try number 2. Well, if we look, we see our y-intercept is that going down from our origin 1, 2, so at negative 2, or the point, if we put a point there, we would have 0, negative 2. And our x-intercept would be at positive 2, or the point 2, 0. So that's how we can identify our x and y intercept space just by looking at a graph. We're just looking for the points. An x-intercept where it intercepts the x-axis, and a y-intercept when it intercepts the y-axis. Now what we're going to do is actually graph by first finding the x and y-intercept, plotting those 2 points, and then connecting the dots. So to find a y-intercept, let's go back and look at that. To find a y-intercept, we will plug x equals 0 in and solve for y. So let's find our y-intercept for number 3. I'm going to plug x equals 0 in for x and solve for y. So I have y equals negative 0 plus 4. Well, this is really negative 1 times 0, so that's just 0. So I have y equals 0 plus 4. So I have y equals 4. So I get the point, x was 0, 4. I got the x is 0 from the idea that I'm plugging x equals 0 in. So I can go to 0 and go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I plot my point. Now let's find the x-intercept. Well, the x-intercept is when y equals 0. So I'll plug y equals 0 in, and then I'll solve for x. So 0 is equal to negative x plus 4. We'll subtract 4 from both sides, and I have negative 4 equals negative x. Remember, this is where that hidden 1 is right here. So to get rid of a negative 1 coefficient, I'll divide by negative 1, and we get 4 equals x. So I found my x-intercept is when x equals 4, or the point 4, 0. The 4 coming from solving for x, The 0 coming from the fact that we plugged in y equals 0. So we already know what this value is going to be because that's what we use to solve for x. So I go to 4, 0. So I go starting at the origin to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then y is 0, so we'll stay right there. It's my x-intercept, so it's crossing my x-axis. I've got my 2 dots, and now my favorite game, connect the dots. Okay. Now if you would pause the video right here and try number 4 on your own. Okay, so hopefully you tried number 4 on your own. Let's go ahead and look at it. Let's start by finding the y-intercept. That's when x equals 0. So y-intercept. I'm going to change the x into a 0 and solve for y. So I have 2 times 0 minus 4y equals 8. So this would be 0 minus 4y equals 8. Negative 4y equals 8. Divide both sides by negative 4, and we get y is equal to negative 2, or the point 0, negative 2. So I can go ahead and plot that point, go down 2, and my x is 0. Let's find the x-intercept. Well, we know that's when y equals 0, so I can say 2x minus 4 times 0 equals 8. Well, 4 times 0 is 0, then I can say 2x minus 0 is 2x equals 8. Divide by 2, and we get x equals 4, or the point 4, 0. Plugging in 0 for y, and I found x is 4. So when y is 0, x is 4. 3, 4, plot my point, 4, 0. Here's my 0, negative 2. Here's my 4, 0. Then we connect the dots. Like that. And that is how we can find, how we can graph linear equations using x and y intercepts.